Hey y'all, welcome to Parent Power with Mandy Drogin. I'm Mandy. I'm just a mom having real conversations with real Texans about what's going on in our state. Today, we are releasing a groundbreaking paper that shows that Qatar is not shutting down the Texas A&M campus. They're simply moving it under their control along with our faculty. Kate Bierly is here to break this news story wide open. Kate, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
All right. You just wrote a great article that really exposes what's really happening. And we've talked a lot about Qatar in the past and about how they're funding our institutions, particularly at Texas A&M. And we hear a lot of people saying, but they're shutting down the campus. What's the truth?
Well, the A&M Board of Regents in February of 2024 voted to shut down the Texas A&M Qatar campus. But I've uncovered this is purely a cosmetic change. We are seeing that their faculty, their research projects, all of their the instruments that they use for their research, it's all being funneled and changed to go under the operation still of Qatar control under HBKU, which is Hamad bin Khalifa University, which is controlled by the Qatar Foundation.
So our campus, our research, our materials, our machines are effectively just being handed over to Qatar, and we're just putting lipstick on the pig and saying, hey, don't look, it's not really Texas A&M, but really it's all of our stuff and our people? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. And also, to make this more clear, HBKU and Texas A&M Qatar, they share the exact same building. So when Qatar A&M campus is set to close in 2028, they still share the same building. So A&M Qatar, on their website right now, they have a seamless transition plan for all the faculty and students who are interested in making the transition to HBKU. So as Qatar campus is closing down, HBKU, all their engineering programs are ramping up, and we're seeing that there is a seamless transition plan in place for all the Aggies to go right over under Qatar control.
Okay, so just let's go back just for a second, because it's really shameful. It is really shameful because ultimately Texas taxpayers are the ones that have founded and funded Texas A&M. And it is a well-respected, amazing institution. And so it just makes me wonder, why are they doing this? And why? You released a report a couple months ago talking about the fact that Texas A&M's Texas Engineering and Experiment Station has received hundreds of millions of dollars from Qatar.
Correct.
The Islamic-controlled government that was found to be the main funder of the Hamas terrorists that murder our sons and daughters and people from across the world. Is that correct?
That is correct. And they've become the number one funder of our public institutions as well.
That's what I was going to say. And across our country, who is the number one foreign funder of American institutions of higher learning?
Qatar, by a landslide.
Okay. And what is it that they're funding at Texas A&M?
They're funding a number of things at Texas A&M. One of the biggest pressure points is the Texas Engineering Experiment Station. So that, like I mentioned before, focuses on cybersecurity, nuclear proliferation, military research. So things all very critical to our national security. Qatar wants their hands all over that. Yeah. And now when you look at the programs at Texas A&M in Qatar, those are all engineering programs as well. We're seeing that the Texas A&M Qatar campus right now, fully operational. They have over 330 undergrad engineering students in computer engineering, in mechanical engineering. It just goes on. They're really interested particularly in our engineering fields, which raises huge alarm bells.
Because engineering, I just want to make this abundantly clear, it's engineers who are designing, developing, and increasing the ability to protect ourselves, including with nuclear weapons,
Absolutely.
Right?
And drone research as well.
And drone research and spying and everything that goes into protecting our nation from the evils of the red-green Marxist Islamist alliance that seeks to destroy Western civilization. That's what engineering is happening at the Texas Engineering. Okay. So that is super important because we're in the middle of a war. We have gone after the evil regime in Iraq, or excuse me, in Iran. And a lot of people, I was doing some research, just recognizing and reading, people don't understand that Iranian sect, the evil mentality that, you have the Soviet Union, you have other foreign hostile nations that don't like Western civilization, but they're not inclined to have a nuclear war, right? Yeah. But Iran is different because they believe in I think it's the Shiite, smaller version of Islamism, where they actually want to spark a nuclear war because they think it'll get the Mahdi, which is like is basically the Antichrist, to come out of their cave, and the caliphate can be all over the world. That's what the Iranian regime is pushing for. They want a nuclear weapon. They believe that this is the way to change the world and go to paradise with all that nonsense. Okay, so I think that's important because we're talking about a regime in Qatar that is in the middle of these Gulf states and that is playing both sides of the field.
Absolutely.
They're funding the Hamas radicals that side with let's create a nuclear war, let's create a revolution, right? They're funding them.
It's a hedging strategy.
That's it. Yeah. They're hedging. Okay. And so the unfortunate part is that Texas A&M, and to be clear, universities all across America are complicit in helping them hedge.
Absolutely.
Okay. That is so key for people to understand this. The partnerships with hostile foreign nations that are funding entities that absolutely want to destroy America and the West, and we are the defenders of the free world, they have access to our national security secrets because we're in contracts with them. And now what you're saying is that this is just a facade. We're not shutting down our campus in Doha. We're simply removing the words Texas A&M and we're giving them our research, our technology, our machines, and our personnel. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I want to bring up an important point that you mentioned about the contracts, because when we specifically look into these contracts, the wording is very deliberate and it paints a very alarming picture. So in 2021, Texas A&M, they signed a 10-year contract renewal with the Qatar Foundation. And so the contract explicitly states, quote, "The emphasis of the research program shall be on issues of interest to the state of Qatar and the research priorities of Qatar and Qatar Foundation." Now, Texas A&M received a lot of flack from this, particularly from ISGAP, it's an anti-Semitism policy organization. Now, when they received a lot of flack, ISGAP, they said, you have to freeze all these research projects. Like, we cannot give them over any other sensitive intellectual property. Yeah. And Texas A&M came out and said, nope, this is a way overstep. Like, we are going to fulfill our research obligations instead of putting these to a halt. So despite the fact that Texas A&M Board of Regents decided to close the campus in 2028, those research obligations still have to be fulfilled.
Says who? That's insane.
I agree. I think Texas needs to do something about it.
Okay. I just find that I'm sure they use, what's the euphemism that lots of intellectuals and higher ed, they like to say it's academic freedom. Yeah. And this drives me crazy because you are free on your own time and dime to have as much freedom as you want. You can say what you want, you can wear what you want, you can protest what you want, which, by the way, doesn't happen in any of these Islamic controlled countries, but you can do all of that. But you don't get to claim academic freedom with taxpayer dollars funding it.
Absolutely.
Texans do not want A&M funding, sharing, or gifting our national security secrets to evil regimes that fund those that seek to destroy us.
I agree. It's happening at University of Texas as well. I mean, we're seeing like the Qatar Foundation, the very same foundation, is giving University of Texas at Austin grants to set up teacher programs so that these teachers can teach our Texas kids all about the Arabic culture.
I'm glad you brought that up because we have released reports and research on that as well, is that this is part of that soft power play. We're going to get into those higher ed institutions, particularly our colleges of education. We're going to claim it's for world culture. Everybody just needs to get along and be nice.
For diversity.
Right, it's for diversity. And they are teaching, they're doing teacher trainings. They're providing the curriculum. They're having summer camps.
They're lobbying.
They're doing all of this to, and they say, oh, this is to promote inclusivity and religious freedom and all of that. And what they are doing is they are weaponizing our freedoms to indoctrinate kids from K through 12, but also obviously in the higher ed system as well. And this is happening right here in Texas, and we're funding it with our own tax dollars, and it has to stop.
I agree.
So what is our recommendation for this scam that is being pulled over Texans taxpayers' eyes? What is our recommendation? What needs to happen at this, what is it, HBKU university that is now being gifted, sold national security secrets?
Yeah, I think we need to do a complete withdrawal of funding and personnel associated with HBKU. We also need to add Qatar to the list of hostile foreign nations on all of our research security efforts at the Texas legislature. We've seen huge steps last session, but Qatar is definitely a threat, and they've proven that.
Wait, just to confirm, did you just, so of all that, there's a formal list by government of hostile foreign nations. So Qatar, the primary funders of Hamas, is not a hostile foreign nation?
It is not considered a hostile foreign nation yet.
That is wild. I cannot imagine that there is any red-blooded, Texas-loving, America-serving legislator in the Texas House, both chambers, leaders that do not want to see Qatar listed as a hostile foreign nation. Yeah. You cannot fund terrorists that try to destroy our way of life and our freedoms and implement a caliphate under Sharia law if you are trying to partner with them. I cannot imagine that. So I'm excited to hear. I'm sure that there are so many great leaders. We're seeing a lot online, but I know that those leaders that are taking on the Islamist radicals that are here in our state would jump at the chance to make sure that Qatar is also on that list. So
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And another thing that I'm hoping that we can fix or take a closer look into is the pipeline transition from the faculty from Texas A&M Qatar to HBKU. Like I mentioned before, on Texas A&M Qatar's website, it has all sorts of frequently asked questions of how a faculty member can teach simultaneously at Texas A&M Qatar and also HBKU to make the transition easier. So we're seeing, it's not hiding. All that information is in broad daylight. So we know that there's already a partnership. We're seeing the leaders as well of HBKU. They came from Texas A&M Qatar. For example, we have Dr. Hazem Nounou, N-O-U. He is the Associate Dean for Faculty Affairs and Professor of Electrical Engineering at HBKU, and he previously served as a Senior Administrator and Professor at Texas A&M Qatar. We also have
taxpayer funded. We are paying this man's salary.
Absolutely.
Got it. Just want to make sure.
HBKU's president, Dr. Ahmad M. Hasna, he played a central role in establishing Texas A&M Qatar as well and has been deeply involved in the transition programs that are currently taking place. So it's happening. People are making the transition. This is still, we have a lot of Aggies over there. So yeah, we need to pay closer attention to that for sure.
This is really bizarre. And it's, thank you for writing this report. It's something, as we look at this, and I know you've been researching it across the country. To be clear, this isn't just happening in Texas.
Correct.
It is. So there is a public policy with Georgetown University, which of course everyone knows. Georgetown is located in Washington, D.C., where our federal government is, where there's Qatar lobbyists, and there's that partnership. And they also have a campus there in Doha. There's, of course, the it's not just Georgetown with public policy. We've got Northwestern University, their School of Journalism. And I watched last fall when the interim president of the Northwestern School of Journalism, his name is Michael Schill, and he was called before Congress and had to testify. And he was asked about if that our students, American students with the freedoms that are in our Constitution, the freedoms and rights given by God, if our students over on the Qatari campus in journalism school have to follow the laws of Qatar, because in the contract it says that they must. And Mr. Schill looked at them and said, well, I don't know. I don't understand how anyone in America thinks it's acceptable that we are having exchange students, effectively, or students that are doing both or dual credit or whatever we're going to call it with this HBKU. And we're sending them over there to have to be under the rules and laws of the Qatari government.
Yeah.
Because we've looked into this. Their laws, they do not have the freedoms.
That we do.
So the question is are our students, American kids, going over there and having to, look, they can't criticize the emir or the government. Penal Code Article 133, that means that you cannot say anything about the government or their funding of terrorists like Hamas. So that would get you imprisoned. You can't, that would constitute as propaganda aiming to destroy the fundamental values. You can't do fake news or false rumors. So if a kid from Texas goes and gets on their Twitter or their Chinese-run TikTok or whatever it is, and they criticize the fact that Qatar is funding Hamas, that could be a penalty of up to 5 years in prison. Same thing with cyber. This is ironic. Cybercrime law, given that Texas A&M is allowing them to access our information from the T station. Anything that violates social values, spreads false news, penalties up to 3 years, blasphemy of religious offenses. So, of course, apostasy, leaving Islam. Kate, what's the punishment for apostasy?
I believe it's death.
Woo! Okay. So we're just saying our kids under Sharia law would go, if they go over there, which Sharia law does govern Qatar, that if they were a Muslim and left, they could be, it's punishable by death. I mean, this is really wild.
It is
wild.
wild.
Do you know, do our kids in Texas, is our contract also say, I mean, I'm going to bet it does. I'll put money down, but I didn't research it before we came on here, that our students that go over there have to follow their laws?
I am not sure.
I would imagine so. I mean, when you go to other countries, you tend to have to.
There.
This is really terrifying. It reminds me of, especially these, if you violate, it says violate social values, blasphemy, apostasy, all of this is in law. Producing defamatory material could be punishable by death. All of this reminds me of a terrible story. There was a young man from the University of Virginia in 2015. His name was Otto Warmbier. And like so many of our young students that probably see flyers that think, oh, I could go to Qatar. It sounds fun. Otto was at the University of Virginia, and he saw a flyer saying that they were taking a group of students to North Korea, where, of course, the dear leader, you can't say anything bad about him because that's blasphemy and punishable by death. You can't do anything that would go against their social norms and their culture. It all sounds very similar to what I'm reading here.
Yeah.
And Otto went over there. They stayed in this beautiful hotel that's clearly for Westerners, bars, and all the things that people can't enjoy in North Korea. And on the day that they were leaving, Otto hands his passport over at the airport, and 2 North Korean military guards come and get him. They stop him, and they take him back, and they say that he destroyed a picture of the dear leader who is, to them, put up to be like a god or a prophet, right? And beat the living daylights out of him. Showed a video of him that was public. That no one could see this CCTV footage. I mean, you couldn't tell who it was at all. And he claimed it was him. 2 months later, he shows up in front of the court with this ridiculous statements claiming that he put on his quietest boots and crept in. It's like this whole charade. And he said he was put up by the U.S. government, the Methodist Church, the local Methodist Church, and, of course, the university system to go and steal a picture or something that was never found on him. And Otto was beaten and tortured for 17 months within an inch of his life. And then they sent him back after diplomatic relations in a coma, and his parents he never woke up again, and they had to pull the plug. And
That's
again, this was a
crazy.
decade ago, but it's the same laws. It's the same laws that our
Same
students
playbook.
would be subjected to in Qatar under the Islamist regime that's playing America for fools because we're giving them our national security secrets.
We're just handing it straight over to them.
Shameful, shameful, shameful. Kate, this is amazing. We're going to link to your research. You mentioned some others that will also link to. Texans and Americans are grateful to you for uncovering this and making sure that this is not a way to hide what is going on from taxpayers and from Americans that clearly see that our culture, Western civilization, is under attack by the Islamists, those radical Islamists, and the Marxists, that they are working in concert. This is so important. Thank you for doing this, Rich. I want you to look in that camera before we wrap up. I want you to tell the legislators how we need to take this on and what needs to happen to make sure that Texas A&M is not continuing to work with the evil regimes that seek to destroy Western civilization.
I think we need to first put those relationship contracts to a halt between Texas A&M and Qatar. Any Qatar-affiliated entity, it puts us too much at a risk. It's too much of a national security risk. I also think we need to make it clear right now where our universities are, what contracts that they're entering into with any foreign nation, whether it's hostile or not. Right now, the bar is set at $250,000 or above. Then that requires the university to report. And I think that bar is way too high. I think we should lower it down to $1 and have our Texas taxpayers well aware of where our sensitive research is going. So yeah, I would say put Qatar on that list, and then let's lower that $250,000 threshold.
That seems like a really simple ask that Texans and great leaders throughout our state can get behind. Thank you, Kate, for your incredible research. Keep digging in. Keep fighting back. Thank you for joining us today on Parent Power with Mandy Drogin. And now you have the power.